Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I'm Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And we are the two hosts of Jedi Enclave Presents, the Now This Is Podcasting podcast, our weekly foray into the world of Star Wars and other fandoms.
You put some extra vowels in there. It's just foray.
Oh, okay.
You said foire or something. You made it more French.
I was trying to make it more French. I was trying to make it sound exciting and exotic because that's how I fool people into thinking that I'm intelligent. It's a superpower, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talk about Star Wars, other fandoms, the news surrounding them, things that are happening, things that we think about them, and
just things that we like.
Yeah. So welcome. I have all of my shit out of order here. Today, there is like news about a prospective Star Wars video game.
Okay.
Fucking Fantastic Four has a cast out of nowhere.
It has a Fantastic Four.
Yeah. There were a bunch of trailers at the Super Bowl we're going to talk about. They were a ton of fun. And I've got a list of dark fan theories about the Jedi that we're going to go over.
I've got one trailer that wasn't at the Super Bowl that I want to talk about at least.
Okay.
I think I'll just surprise you with it.
Okay. It might already be on my list, but
maybe
that's fine. And so, yeah, we're going to talk about some dark fan theories about the Jedi, because this is like the last week we have before.
Oh God, yeah. Next week is what? Bad Batch and Avatar at the same time.
And I'm sure that they're gonna drop all of Avatar at once, right? Because it's Netflix.
Does seem like a Netflix thing to do.
I don't know how we're gonna handle that, because we're gonna have the first 3 episodes of Bad Batch as well. So I don't know. We might just do an episode by episode thing for as long as we're doing Bad Batch. We might as well. Young Royals comes out in a couple of weeks too, but that has nothing to do with us. That's just more of I like that show a whole bunch. So next week, make sure you join us for our breakdown. What day it is? So it comes out on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So the Saturday show, we'll have a couple of days to like think about it and stuff.
To let it marinate.
Yeah. So we'll be recapping and talking about the episodes as they happen. Next week has a 3-episode premiere. We'll be talking about all 3 of them. And then we'll probably do the season finale of Avatar and then nothing else, because we won't have time for anything else.
Yeah.
And then going forward, we'll do, whatever Bad Batch episodes and all that other shit. At some point, Invincible will be back.
Yeah.
For the second part of the second season. So
I want to say that's next month, but I might be wrong.
I feel like someone mentioned it during a Battlefront stream. I think it's happening sooner than I thought. Hold on, since we're talking about it.
The power of live streaming is that we can have a question and you can just fucking Google it and find out.
Part 2 release date.
Here we go. March 14th. I was right. Next month.
Yeah, that's like
less than a month.
That's a few days after Young Royals, actually. I'm going to have a lot of shit to watch.
Yep.
But we'll be talking about that when it gets here too. If you're joining us for the official podcast version of this, which you can find on YouTube on Wednesdays, which will be, if you're watching the live show now, it'll be next Wednesday. But if you're watching on a Wednesday, this happened several days before you're watching this. But if you're interested in a particular topic we're talking about, the time codes will be in the description of this video.
Somewhere down there.
Yeah, I don't know if you're supposed to point at stuff anymore. We're not real YouTubers, so it doesn't matter. and as conspiracy theorists have pointed out in our comments, we're not actually YouTube partners. We lied about that for some reason.
It's true,
despite the fact that I showed incontrovertible proof on a stream.
We're also not Disney shills.
Yeah.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I would like to be, because then we'd be making money doing this.
That's very true.
Yeah. Thank you at Connor at the Star Wars Hub and Star Wars Red House. I told him last week, you said that he was the love of our lives, I think.
Did I?
Maybe I did. I think you did.
Okay, whatever.
But I told him someone said it, and he got a big kick out of that.
Oh.
So go check his stuff out. He's a partner of ours and runs a really cool operation on social media. And speaking of social media, while you're here, make sure you like the stream and subscribe. Join us on Discord, which you can find the link to that in the description as well. And let all your little nerdy friends know about us. Usually after this at 7, we do Battlefront. We're not doing Battlefront today. We're doing Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. And I think we're we stopped right at the end of Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, so we're up to Return of the Jedi.
Yes. So we've got that, and then an entire prequel and an entire sequel trilogy to do.
Is there a Lego version of Yub Nub?
I can't remember.
I hope so.
They use music from the movies.
Yeah.
But
It's just-
Yub Nub was a pre.
Yeah, Yub Nub is a deep cut now.
Yeah, because it doesn't really exist that way. That was one of the many casualties of George Lucas's special edition.
Although we did get to Jedi Rocks or whatever it's called.
Oh, who was that I was playing Battlefront with the other day that was like, yeah, that song sucks. And it's like, you've never played funk before, you're an idiot. Because I get that the sequence in the movie is kind of goofy.
It's weird.
But the music is really good. And that whole thing is like a funk tune, like a weird space funk thing. It's really neat. In fact, I learned that beginning lick on saxophone when I was in like 8th grade or something. I was really into it. Tomorrow, Sunday, will be Gungans and Dragons at 7, which is our Star Wars tabletop RPG. We couldn't do it last week because of the Super Bowl, which is a thing I didn't even get. So all of my gay friends, they're like, oh, I hate the Super Bowl, but Taylor Swift. But I don't.
And you're over here like, I hate the Super Bowl and I don't care about Taylor Swift.
I don't care about Taylor Swift either. And it makes me feel like a bad gay, but here we are. I don't know. The thing I thought was funny was that like there was this weird conspiracy about Travis, what's his, I don't
Kelsey.
know, who's dating Taylor Swift.
Yeah, Travis Kelsey.
They were gonna like bring Joe Biden down on the field after he won, like blow him on national TV or something. Like some weird, because people with these like they'll believe literally anything.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's everything's a conspiracy and a hidden, the earth is flat and
the Illuminati or blah blah blah.
And I wanted to tune in just to see if it would happen. Because like if it did, it would be really funny to watch everyone melt down. But turns out, I think the team that he was on won.
Yes.
Nothing
happened.
Nothing burned down. Everything was fine, except there was a shooting. But that's America.
Yeah.
So let's talk some Star Wars news.
Okay.
First, Ben Mendelsohn. This is like every week this happens where an actor is
giving an interview on something completely unrelated,
and they're like,
they were in Star Wars once.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, what do you think about Star Wars?
He's like, you want to talk about this project I'm doing? And they're like, no, we're going to ask you questions about Star Wars. So, as you know, Ben Mendelsohn played Orson Krennic in Rogue One. One of lots of highlights from that movie, right?
God, that movie was so good.
His character Orson Krennic is particularly good. So they're asking him about him being in Andor season 2, which is something we were throwing around last week anyway, right? Because we were talking about the release schedules. And
could
stuff.
Make sense, yeah.
And he was really coy about it, pretty much.
Sure.
And he told a couple jokes about like the Krennic backstory and like a younger version of himself and all this other shit, but.
Except it wouldn't be that much younger because like it's 5 years at the most.
Also, Ben Mendelsohn is a very good looking man and he wouldn't have any trouble doing that. So like he gave nothing away, right?
Here's the thing though, like I don't think there would be an appreciable difference in his answers if he was in Andor season 2 or if he wasn't.
I'll tell you,
because like if he was, the Disney legal ninjas would be like, you are going to say nothing.
Yes. The thing that would convince me he was in it is if he would have been like, I'm not in Andor season 2.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do. They just lie about it.
If he does the Andrew Garfield,
right?
I am not in this movie. Right. Shows up in the movie.
That being said, I would love to see if he can spare time for fucking Secret Wars or Secret Invasion.
Yeah.
He can spare time for Andor season 2, which was
would be a better show.
Yeah. A much superior show. He can spare the time for it, and I'm sure that if they wanted him, he would do it. And who knows? Maybe we'll be seeing a Ben Mendelsohn in Andor season 2. I hope so. I mean, fucking love that guy.
If the check clears,
yeah. So what Andor season 2 is? What do we say that comes out
next year?
Is it?
Pretty sure.
They just wrapped filming. We won't see it for a while.
Yeah.
For like probably another year. All right.
Anyway,
go on.
As you may be aware, it's the 25th anniversary of The Phantom Menace.
Yes.
And, Empire Magazine is doing a big feature. They got interviews with a whole bunch of people, including Ian McDermott.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked Ian McDermott about Palpatine and how somehow he returned. And Ian McDermott was like, actually, that was a brilliant stroke of writing, because of course Palpatine would have plan B, C, D, E, F.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking, yes, Palpatine did have a plan B. His plan B was to burn the entire fucking galaxy.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, Operation Cinder. Yeah, that was his backup plan. Yeah, so there's a lot that came out of that whole thing, because like,
I want to before you go on, I want to highlight my favorite part where Ian McDermott
you're probably gonna,
confirms that Sheev Palpatine fucks.
Yep. Which, okay, so this all reads, so Ian McDermott's
a troll.
Right, okay.
Like, let's just be real. He is a total troll about Star Wars.
So I think he's a big cheerleader for Star Wars. Mm-hmm. He's never going to say anything negative about it because he is like, he
knows that is the role that people know him for.
Yeah, and also people really love him for it. He's one of those rare Star Wars characters where they're like, your character is perfect, right?
He chews the scenery in a most delightful way.
He's one of those. He's like one of the rare actors in Star Wars who don't really get targeted by like all the worst kinds of people. Yeah. That being so, the Palpatine fucks thing, which is hilarious, and we were all thinking about it for a long time. Yeah. After Rise of Skywalker came out, but it's very clear that Ian McDermott doesn't know anything about Star Wars outside of the scenes that he's in, because we know that Rey, we know how Rey happened, and it wasn't because Palpatine fucked.
Yes.
It was because he cloned himself.
Yeah. Her father is a clone of Palpatine. And a failed clone that has no force power.
Right.
Even.
So I guess by the transitive property, Palpatine fucks because his clone fucked.
I guess.
But it's funny how he's just kind of along for the ride. But if you were to ask him a question about Star Wars that was outside of a scene that Palpatine is in, he'd be like, I have no idea, which is fine. I don't need him to be an expert on all the lore and shit to love him, because he's amazing. Yeah. And it like, again, these guys are all actors. Like, he's not literally Sheev Palpatine, because then he'd probably be in prison. But like, you know what I'm saying, right? Like he's not literally Palpatine, so I don't need him to be an expert on Star Wars. I wish George Lucas was a little bit more of an expert on Star Wars, but he pronounces Bespin Bespin, and Coruscant is, for the longest time until the prequel trilogy, was pronounced Coruscant. And like he's the reason that the whole laser sword thing exists, because that's what he calls lightsabers. And he has all of these, like, Hoth is pronounced Hoth to George Lucas. I would expect him to be the expert on Star Wars. Ian McDermott gets a pass.
I think it's noteworthy that in Empire's big feature, like, the one big name they didn't interview was George Lucas.
Yeah. Oh, I think there's some bridges burned there a little bit.
There might be. It might also be that George Lucas has 4 billion reasons to not give a shit about Star Wars anymore.
I think they hurt his feelings. I really do think they hurt George Lucas's feelings a little bit. I absolutely believe he had this treatment for the sequel trilogy. Mm-hmm. And when he sold Star Wars, he was like, this is what I came up with. Mm-hmm. And they were like,
okay, we'll look at it, but we are under no obligation to do anything with it.
And they threw it out. Yeah. It turns out they actually used more of it than people thought at first. The whole idea of Luke being a hermit, like a despondent hermit on a planet where no one could find him, that was a George Lucas idea. Like, which is funny because all the purists are like, bring George Lucas back. And it's like, you understand
that was his idea.
The thing that you hate about The Last Jedi was his idea. So we're back to square one, where we all bitch about what George Lucas did to Star Wars and all this other shit. How do we get to George Lucas?
I mentioned that he wasn't in the Empire feature.
Oh yeah. So I think I think there were some bridges burned. And so maybe they asked him, but he's probably like, nah, I want to be done with this.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Which I don't blame him.
Anymore. Yeah. Let's read some chats real quick.
Okay.
Frankie says, "Hey, you guys playing tonight or just podcast tonight?" We are playing and podcast tonight, but no Battlefront. I'm so sorry. Chris says, "May the force be with you, Daniel and Chris. Hope you are both having a good night. I'm hoping the Mandalorian video, I think it means video game, will be about Boba Fett and rise to prominence as a bounty hunter." I'm not sure it'll be about.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Also, spoilers, we haven't gotten that far yet.
Yeah, that's okay. Jamie says, I feel like I was a winner on Super Bowl because I walked past the pub on my way to get coffee and a croissant, and it was full of people excited to be watching in Australia at 10 a.m. I didn't indulge, but it felt like the real winner. Ben Mendelsohn is one of my was one of our best exports. Yes, he is an amazing Australian.
He's pretty incredible.
All right, so what's next?
Do you go or I go?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Sam Jackson for a second.
Okay.
Which is this is another thing where I think they were talking to him about something else, maybe not Star Wars related, but they're like, "You think Mace Windu will come back?" And he's like, "Yeah, I absolutely do think he'll come back." And as a matter of fact, give me a Disney Plus series. We all know Mace Windu didn't die getting thrown out the window, and this
my first reaction upon reading this was, you do not get to decide that.
Yeah, right. So first of all, of course, Sam Jackson's going to be like,
Sam Jackson will act like he wants to act in everything.
Yeah, yeah, and he'll do it for not very much money, as people are
fucking
aware.
Secret Invasion.
Yeah. So like, obviously, I don't hate him for like wanting to be in more Star Wars and shit, but
I mean, he's a working actor. He has to get gigs.
Yeah, this is one of those things where like look, Sam Jackson, I understand you're not really a Star Wars fan, and that isn't like a gatekeeping thing. I don't think he really cares about it too much. We have a problem over here with this, with the Mace Windu thing, and you don't understand how bad it is that people are so convinced
that every single week we have to make a joke that Mace Windu is dead.
Like everyone thinks he's hiding under their bed or in the closet or something, like just waiting to jump out and be like, "I'm alive, bitches." And we don't like, I get that Mace Windu is really cool. He's my favorite prequel era Jedi. I really love him. I think he's amazing. I would be really displeased if it turned out that he secretly survived. We did a segment a couple of weeks ago about the character fake out deaths of Star Wars and how it just kind of cheapens kind of everything if everyone who dies comes back and never having died in the first place. And like there was someone I saw on social media a while ago advocating for the fact that maybe Ben Kenobi didn't actually kill Darth Maul that second time on Tatooine. Maybe he's still alive.
What?
Yeah. And so that he could come back as a character in Rey's movie or whatever. And it's like this is bad writing, and this is why when someone's like, "I don't like the Star Wars movie, the writing's bad," I'm like, yeah, but you want Darth Maul to be alive after his second fight with Kenobi. So I don't give a single shit about what you think about writing or what is good writing or bad writing.
Like if death doesn't mean anything, then it's like you can't have a compelling story.
There's no conflict.
Yeah.
Like it's just someone dies and you're like, "Oh, they'll be back."
Yeah.
I think I applaud them, by the way, for showing some restraint for not bringing Han Solo back.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure
outside of that one weird cameo that no one really knows what's going on with that.
Right, yeah. The memory or whatever. Yeah. Like I'm sure that maybe they wanted to, but Harrison Ford was like,
absolutely not. Like, will you buy me a new plane for this?
Yeah.
No, fuck off.
Yeah. So now a Sam Jackson prequel story, like before episode 3, would be really fucking cool. And I'm not sure if Sam Jackson would be so if they did the de-aging thing, it would be really expensive. And
so the thing is, they have the technology to make the look happen, but I don't know if Sam Jackson is still able to move in the kinetic way.
He's not.
That you would need for that.
He's not. And a really good example of this, and I mean, this isn't me shitting on Sam Jackson because it's not his fault. He's 800 years old or whatever. I think he's like mid-70s,
something like that. Yeah.
Like when you go and watch Captain Marvel, which features a brilliantly de-aged Sam Jackson, looks perfect. Like it looks so good. He looks like younger Sam Jackson with the movement of a 70-year-old man,
because he is.
Yeah, and it's like so I would like a Mace Windu story from his 20s, like the story about how he became the youngest member of the Jedi Council. Like that shit would be cool.
I'm on board with that.
And you don't need Sam Jackson for that. You just need a bald black dude, right? Who's a good actor who can channel Sam Jackson without somehow saying the word fuck. But like sign me on for that kind of Star Wars project with Mace Windu, but don't bring him back. We don't need him to come back. Samuel Jackson, I know you watch our show. We're tired of fielding these Mace Windu theories. Please stop fielding this. All right, what's next?
Okay, let's talk about Marvel for a second.
All right.
So Marvel had a big announcement on Valentine's Day that they formally announced the core cast for the Fantastic Four movie.
Yes.
So
in a cute little drawing.
Yeah.
Cute little art, yeah.
So we got Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards.
Which was a report that a while ago.
Yeah, this has come out a couple weeks ago.
Now it's official, though.
Yes. Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm.
Yes.
Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm. And Eben Moss Backrack as Ben Grimm.
So a couple familiar faces.
Yes. So let's just start from the top here. Pedro Pascal, maybe not the first name you would think of for fucking Reed Richards.
I know a lot of people are really mad because they wanted John Krasinski to do it, but it turns out the rumor is that he doesn't want it.
Oh, okay.
Because when you accept a role like this,
you sign on for life,
decade, at least a decade, right? That's an entire portion of your career.
The mouse owns you.
Yeah. And I think John Krasinski was just like, I think he was like, put me in fucking Multiverse of Madness in a throwaway scene, but I do not want to be balls deep in this.
Yeah.
And so like when you're going to your keyboard to freak out about how it's not John Krasinski, what are you going to do? Lock the man up and make him do the role? Like if he doesn't want it, he doesn't want it. You know, what are you going to do?
Getting back to Pedro Pascal, like not the guy you would think of as the, super stretchy total nerd, but I have faith in Pedro Pascal that he can play anything.
I wouldn't have thought he would have been Joel in The Last of Us.
And he did a fucking bang up job on that.
John and I are rewatching that, by the way.
Cool.
I think 2 weeks ago we watched the Bill and Frank episode, and it emotionally wrecked me almost as much as the first time I saw it. And going back and watching, because I only saw it when it came out. Like I hadn't seen it since. So like this is my first rewatch of the show.
Yeah.
And like everyone in the show is amazing. The fucking what's her name from Yellow Jackets is the crazy Kansas City woman.
Yeah.
But Pedro Pascal is such a good actor. I fucking love him.
Vanessa Kirby, I have to admit, I don't know very much about her. I don't think I've seen very much of her stuff.
I've seen her in a couple of things, I think. I can't remember off the top of my head. I mean, I know her name.
I've heard very good things about her since this announcement. Joseph Quinn, another name I don't really know.
I know a whole bunch because, not a whole bunch, but just so happens he's a random guard in Game of Thrones.
Okay.
There was a throwaway role in the last season or the second to last season.
Did his character die?
No.
Oh.
No. So we're you know what? This is my show. We're going there. Okay. So Arya Stark, little baby Arya Stark, goes off and learns how to be an assassin.
Yes.
Right.
She kills people.
First time we ever see Arya Stark, she's got this helmet on because she wants to be a soldier and it's way too big and she's adorable and shit. All this terrible stuff happens here. She learns how to be a faceless man. Decides, I'm going home. I'm going home to Winterfell.
I'm going to go home. I'm going to kill people.
Well, at least
very specific people.
Yeah, I'm going to go and meet up with my sister and see what's happening, and let's get the family back together. She goes back to Winterfell. She gets to the front door, and there are two guards who are like, "Stop right there, you little girl." And she's like, "Oh, I could easily kill both of you." And they have this moment where they both have a little fight about who is going to go and like bother her sister about this disturbance. And they turn around and she's just gone. And
holy shit, she became Batman.
Yeah, she just disappears. And then they're like, I guess we'll say
oh fuck.
Yeah. So that was his first role that I remember him. The second one, more famously, that people will likely know him from, is I think the character's name is Eddie from Stranger Things season 3.
Okay.
Who is a new character in the show, season 3 or I can't remember what season we're on with Stranger Things, but was a standout character in the season, was absolutely fantastic, and his character was like the head of the D&D, because Stranger Things happens in the 70s.
Yeah.
He was the head of the D&D club at school when like everyone thought D&D was like satanic and shit.
Yeah.
And he plays like the guitar and he's got long hair and shit. He's absolutely great. This next guy,
Eben Moss Backrack.
we know him from.
Yes. So we know him from Andor, where he was Skeen, the kind of slimy guy.
Mhm.
We also know him from The Bear.
Yes.
Where his character, oh my God.
Yeah, I think.
Like The Bear is full of fantastic actors giving great performances, and even in that context, he stands out.
Right. And with all the writing and shit too. That show's next season is finished filming, I think.
It's somewhere in the pipeline.
Yeah. Which, by the way, if you're watching and you're looking just for a random show to
like
fill the void in your life.
Yeah, like relatively low stakes, no big fantasy, anything going on. Watch The Bear.
Yeah, it is. It's so good. It
will make you never want to work in the restaurant industry.
Or go to Chicago. Probably. Yeah.
I think they treat Chicago fairly well.
That's why I'm saying. That's why I don't want to go. So yeah, the cast looks good.
They also changed the date very slightly. It's happening July 25th of next year.
Okay.
It was supposed to be May, but now it's July.
That's good because we're probably gonna have enough shit to see this summer anyway. So Casey says, I've popped my head in on my local pub around 10, 11 a.m. a few years ago, and the Super Bowl was on. Super fun day. Also in Australia, I assumed. Yep. Chris says, John Boyega as a young Mace Windu? No. Nope. Well, first of all, it breaks the time-space continuum in Star Wars because he's also Finn, unless you want to make some kind of weird time travel story, in which case, no. I think
save it for Star Wars. What if?
Yeah. What if John Boyega was Mace Windu?
Yeah,
that'd be such a weird thing. I'm thinking of a particular actor right now that I realize the only thing I've ever seen him in was The West Wing. And by now, he's probably not the right age because that's a show from like the mid-90s.
Yeah, are you talking about the President's Bodyguard?
No. You're thinking of the President's Body Man. Who Dule Hall, who no, but he was a lawyer in the counsel's office who here, I'll show you a picture of him real quick. Okay. Yeah, Vamp.
I mean, as long as we're just throwing out random names, Michael B. Jordan, just because I love Michael B. Jordan, everything I've ever seen him in.
Yeah.
But, like,
he would be really, really good.
Like if he's willing to shave his head, I think he could do it.
Yeah. It's not going to show me this. Fucking. You know what?
Oh, it's fine.
I'll find it later. Yeah. He's I think he'd be really good. Michael B. Jordan would be a huge name for something like that. I don't. He doesn't come off as super Mace Windu for me though. Yeah. Maybe it's. I don't know. That would be a tough sell for me. I think there are probably better actors to do it.
Probably.
Does the wellspring of the Force provide midichlorians for all of existence, or just the Star Wars galaxy?
Good question.
Well, not just the Star Wars galaxy. So when you say the Star Wars galaxy,
are you talking about the OG galaxy, or are we also talking about where the witches came from?
Yeah,
and
because when you say the Star Wars galaxy, we already know that's not true.
Yeah,
because they have the Force where Baylan Skoll and those guys are, which is a different galaxy from like the Skywalker galaxy.
I would assume it's a universal phenomenon, but I don't know.
In this existence, the Force is kind of like all penetrating. If you know what I mean. Respawn.
Oh, yes.
So the makers...
This is intriguing.
Yeah. I'm giving this a little bit of a grain of salt, but there are parts of it that read like real shit, right? So Respawn, the guys who did Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, apparently, according to Insider Gaming, they have a source that says that Respawn is developing a first-person Star Wars Mandalorian game, an FPS Star Wars Mandalorian game, that it's in early stages of development, and that players will control a Mandalorian bounty hunter during the Galactic Empire, capturing bounties for rewards, and the game would focus on mobility and style, with emphasis on fast-paced gameplay and high mobility mechanics like jetpacks. Lots of weapons, gadgets, wrist rockets, grappling hooks. the visor thing. Now I seem to remember there have been persistent rumors for a while now, for several months, about someone somewhere producing a Star Wars FPS.
Yes,
this could be that. Like, if you're thinking of it from a business perspective, this is a good idea for another video game.
Yeah.
Because so first of all, they only put one Star Wars video game out every 10 years now, for whatever reason. And
I think the intention is quality control, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. They missed a huge opportunity in Battlefront 2 when they stopped doing live service support for it, to have Din Djarin in that game.
Yes.
Right. And I think like a Mandalorian makes a very good subject matter for an FPS, because as we all know, weapons are their religion.
Yes.
And that's their whole thing. So like that would be really neat. So I like, this isn't one of those things where if it ends up not being true, we're like, oh, look at the egg on your face. Like, this makes sense.
It makes sense. It's plausible.
Yeah. So I'm at the point where so maybe the source heard it from somewhere who might know a thing or two about what's happening. I wouldn't count on it as facts, but I'm like, I hope it is, because that would be really cool.
I'm about there. I'm also thinking, like, if we're only just now hearing rumors about it, don't expect it for like 3 years or so.
Yeah. Who even fucking knows?
I mean, Respawn is still busy. Like, they're gonna have a third Jedi game to do, right?
I think they're already working on it.
Yeah.
I think Cameron Monaghan accidentally was like, we're already starting.
So I wouldn't expect this game until well after that.
Yeah. What do you have next? Or am I next?
Trailers.
Oh yeah, Super Bowl. Super Bowl trailers. So the one thing I enjoy about Super Bowl is that it is a good time to run trailers, because
you have
everyone's watching.
So many people watching.
So it turns out also that for like what is like 1 minute of prime time or something it's
ludicrously expensive,
like $8 million or some crazy like thing.
Again, everybody is watching.
Yeah. Let's talk about the one super nerd thing that everyone saw and was like, oh my gosh, which was Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yes.
So I think everyone knew we were going to get a trailer for the Super Bowl.
This is the first time we had actually seen any footage of the movie, because like all the other trailers were Ryan Reynolds just joking around and
with Hugh
Jackman.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman.
It's like, hey, Hugh Jackman, you want to make a movie?
Right.
He's walking up the stairs. Yeah, sure, whatever.
There were leaked set photos of Hugh Jackman in that costume that was in the trailer. Those were
the
legit,
bright yellow and blue,
right? Which is like one of the comic book accurate ones or whatever. And there's some wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff happening, right? Because there are people because at the end of Deadpool 2, he goes back in time and rights a bunch of wrongs, brings people back. He kills Ryan Reynolds before he can accept the Green Lantern gig, and so there are there are characters back in the trailer that had died in the film, and apparently the TVA is like, nope.
Yes,
that's not what's going to happen. And so,
which it's nice to see the TVA existing outside of the context of Loki. Yeah, because that just shows that they are a thing that actually exists, not just a plot device for this one show.
Yeah. He made a really funny joke about pegging, and the whole essence of Deadpool is look at the camera and wink.
Yes, there's a whole bunch of shots of this big action set piece in like a desert setting, and like you can see the 21st Century Fox logo is like half submerged in the sand.
We're not going to go through all there are a bunch of Easter eggs, and the guy that played the fire guy from one of the other X-Men movies is in it, and like Eliath, I think, it was in one of the shots. People are arguing whether or not Doctor Doom is in one of them, but it turns out it's probably not him. It's probably someone else. So I think that's coming out in July of this summer.
I think so.
So we'll see that.
It's the one MCU movie this year.
Yeah.
So,
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
These guys do not know how to name their movies because they all are like this, where it's a mouthful and it's hard to say. That being said, they're all pretty good movies.
I haven't watched any of this Planet of the Apes reboot, which I know disappoints you.
You should. I think this is another summer movie, I think, that we'll probably end up going
That
to
is
see.
where you put all the big action movies.
Yep. The thing that I was surprised about, that I was surprised about the other ones, is how good those fucking monkeys look. Like, and you can tell the guys that made this movie were like, oh, we've got some good fucking monkeys. Let's do some lingering shots for the trailer, right? Yeah. So you could show it off and shit. So it's, I don't know how, I'm not invested in the lore of it all.
You're just there to see monkeys fuck shit up.
But it's like, it's a good story, and it's, I liked it a whole bunch.
Okay.
Wicked. Part 1, because that's what we do now in Hollywood. We do a part 1 and part 2. However, I did,
this I can see this making some sense. Like
it's a Broadway show.
Yes,
that's
it has an act 1 and an act 2.
Right.
Like they would have to stretch a little bit, but you could make a part 1 and part 2 out of it.
The first act of Wicked ends with Defying Gravity, which is a fucking banger of a song.
Absolutely.
So I totally get it. If you don't know what Wicked is, it's
it's sort of the prequel to The Wizard of Oz, about how Oz got that way,
and runs concurrently to
I guess Act 2 runs concurrently to the movie.
Yeah, to Wizard of Oz. And it's like the story told from the Wicked Witch of the West point of view, because it turns out she wasn't as bad as everyone thought, or is, because it's kind of like the stories that you're getting from the Wizard of Oz is told from an unreliable narrator, and it turns out she wasn't actually as wicked as everyone thought. It's a great story. The music in that musical is really good. And I think I've played in different settings. I've played just about every song from this, like in a band setting and everything.
I've seen it when it was in Chicago. This was years and years ago. It would have been like 2007. It was like, even then I thought it was fucking incredible.
I think I saw it in Chicago as well, because it's not the one. Yeah, I saw Phantom of the Opera in New York, which was Jesus Christ.
But they take their musicals seriously there.
Yeah, I almost got hit by the fucking chandelier that flies past your head. But I think I saw Wicked in Chicago. I think I've seen it twice actually. And it is really, like, the story is really awesome. The music is great, and the cast looks really good. And this is the kind of movie where I give the VFX a little more of a pass because of the subject matter. Like, it's supposed to be kind of like a spectacle and kind of like, not at all like, like our world. It's like an otherworldly kind of shit. So I'm excited about that. Okay, I gotta tell you, when I was a kid, I had an obsession with the movie Twister.
Okay,
I fucking loved it. And I had an obsession with tornadoes, and I'm not really sure why. I'm surprised it didn't end up becoming a storm chaser, but they're doing a Twister sequel called Twisters.
Okay.
And so that had a trailer during the Super Bowl. I don't give a fuck about it. I don't know. I saw it, and because I was like, oh, okay. I loved that movie as a kid, and I'm probably the demographic for this movie. I saw it, and I was like, all the people I love about this movie are dead. Which were Bill Paxton, who passed away a couple years ago, I think. And the guy that played Dusty, who's played by Philip Seymour Hoffman. Those are the reasons I watched that movie. They're both dead. They can't be in the movie. So I was like, you could bring Helen Hunt in, because I liked Helen Hunt. She's in the movie. But unless you're going to dig Philip Seymour Hoffman up and fucking marionette him around in a scene, I don't know if I care about this. Yeah.
I think I watched this once as a kid when it went to VHS, and I was like, this is okay.
I love the first movie.
Yeah.
Also, the music in that movie is really good.
I just have to say, this is like the stereotype of, like, these characters inflicted their own situation. Like,
by driving into a tornado.
Yeah, the tornado was not like chasing them around.
Right.
They went to the tornado. They could have just stayed home.
Yeah. I think they mentioned that it's it's a sequel, though it doesn't. I don't think it it doesn't involve any of the original characters. But there are rumors about the main character being Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt's daughter.
Okay,
The characters, and it's like,
fine, whatever.
I don't care. I don't know. I'll see it. I'll see it when I can pirate it. Probably. Kung Fu Panda 4.
Okay.
I like the Kung Fu Panda movies.
All right.
I'll probably watch it when I can pirate
Good
it.
for you.
A Quiet Place Day 1.
Okay.
Which I will see the first fucking day this comes out, because I loved Quiet Place Part 1. John Krasinski directed, written by. Amazing movie in every single way. Quiet Place Part 2. Had tickets to see that movie. The day before we were supposed to go see it, the world shuts down because of COVID.
Yeah.
And I had to wait an entire year to see it.
Oh God.
But when I saw it, I was like, that's a good fucking movie. I'm glad I watched that. I watched the trailer for this. I have this is one of those stories where I am a little invested in the lore of this story, because the whole premise is that there's an alien attack on Earth that takes down all of humanity in a week. It happens so fast, right? And you get a little bit of a look of day 1 in the second film from John Krasinski's family's point of view, but this is from an entirely different POV in New York City, I think, and just what happened. The entire government collapses and shit goes crazy, and also I find the monsters terrifying.
Okay.
They're really scary to me. I like the whole they can hear everything and whatever. And the thing that I love about them is that they're practically invincible unless you know about how to make their membranes open or whatever, and then you can just shoot them with a shotgun and they're dead. Yeah. So I will be seeing that when it comes out.
This wasn't a Super Bowl trailer. It came out in this past week, but X-Men 97.
Oh, the
series of Disney Plus. Yeah.
How did that not make my list?
So this is a continuation of the old Fox Kids X-Men cartoon, which let's be clear, that cartoon kind of sucks by modern standards. It's schlocky. The animation looks weird. The voice acting is hilariously over the top. That's
it's for kids.
Yeah. It does have a few genuinely well-written story threads, and it is huge nostalgia bait for our generation.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I know you don't really care about X-Men.
I don't, and I don't think I've seen a ton of this when I was a kid. I was way more into Batman the Animated Series,
which is a better show, to be fair.
Also, and I'll reiterate this: my love for DC begins and ends at Batman. Right. I didn't watch any of the other DC shows.
I'm not a huge fan of the original show, but I like the X-Men in general. I'll probably be watching this.
That animation. It looks good. I mean, and they're probably gonna do some updating to it so that people our age can watch it and not be like, okay, this is for kids. So yeah. Do you know when Bad Batch season 3 comes out? Next Wednesday.
Next week. Yeah.
Next Wednesday. On next Saturday, 6:00 p.m. Central, we will be breaking it down on this channel. So make sure you subscribe and you're ready to do that. All right. I wonder if I can bang this out in 15 minutes.
Giggity.
Because I think there are 19 of these.
All right, let's go quick.
Yeah. So I find the world of Star Wars headcanon fan theories really interesting.
Okay.
Because most of them are so fucking stupid.
Yes.
And it's not because of the person that created them are stupid. It's just because we're all just a little stupid, right? And on one hand, it's awesome that Star Wars is a thing where people get so invested. They put so much brain power into it that they come up with their own little interpretation of the events and stuff. Sometimes we like to do shitty fan theories. I found some that are kind of dark and creepy.
Okay.
That when you think about them on their face, you're like, I don't know if I like that. And these are I didn't pick them because they were terrible. I was like, okay, I could totally get this. Yeah. So, first theory: the Jedi wanted to control the Force-using population, and that was their the main reason why they exist as an apparatus to find all of the Force-sensitive children, bring them in, give them a lifestyle of non-procreation so that they could control the population of Force users in the entire galaxy.
Not totally implausible.
As we know, the Jedi weren't necessarily the good guys in the prequel trilogy. So I could kind of,
I feel like it runs up somewhere against the light side of the Force and like the will of the living Force, but
also this has to get past the likes of people like Yoda who are intrinsically good guys, right? Yeah. So like the joke I made about the Jedi not necessarily being good guys in the prequel trilogy, the Jedi were full of good Jedi.
Yes,
but the organization itself,
I mean, look no further than the child soldiers.
Yeah, or yeah, right. It's like the Catholic Church. Like, I'm sure if you look hard, there are great Catholics out there. Mm-hmm. The Catholic Church is a criminal organization that shouldn't exist, right? It's kind of like that. If you're Catholic, I'm very sorry.
At the very least, they're guilty of sheltering and abetting pedophiles.
Yeah. Yeah. And since we know the Pope is watching this, just email me. We can talk about it. So second theory.
Okay.
Obi-Wan purposefully, so he knew that Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru were dead, and crispy skeletons on the doormat, and he wanted Luke to see them to catalyze his decision to go on his adventure.
Not implausible.
I think it's a little unlike Obi-Wan.
A little bit.
Because
it's a bit manipulative for Obi-Wan,
right.
I think.
Because that also suggests that he knew when they were going to die. Mm-hmm. And the Obi-Wan we know would stop that. Like he would rescue them. And as we know, he already did once.
Yeah.
So there is one that I read about Vader. We're going to put a content warning on this in regards to suicide and self-harm. So if that's the kind of thing that you don't want to hear, just peace out for a little bit. So there was an interesting thing about Vader being suicidal in Return of the Jedi, because he knew, based on some dialogue choices from Palpatine in Return of the Jedi, that he was being replaced. Like there's a thing where Palpatine said something about like his work there was finished, and like he knew that Palpatine was trying to groom Luke to take his place, and that he was just kind of like, okay, well, fuck me then. Like, what am I going to do? And that like that acceptance of his death is one of the things that helped him make the decision at the end to kill Palpatine, to sacrifice himself to save Luke. Now, remember, these aren't here because they're kind of dark and grotesque. Not necessarily because I think they're true, because this one I think isn't true at all, at least as a catalyst for him saving Luke at the end. Because I think that would really, if that was the reason he did it, not because like during that scene, he's looking down and he's like, motherfucker, you killed my wife, and now you're going to kill the only thing left of Padme, right?
I think that whole sequence makes a lot more sense as Palpatine running a Xanatos gambit, where either Luke falls to the dark side and becomes my apprentice, or Vader kills Luke, thereby confirming him even deeper in the dark side. And either way, I walk out of here with a really strong apprentice.
What is this Xanatos? Wait.
It's a TV trope thing. Basically, no matter what happens, it furthers the person's aims. So old school Star Wars fans into old school Legends books are going to know what I'm talking about here, because I thought you were talking about Qui-Gon Jinn's first apprentice, Xanatos, which is probably why they named him that. Maybe
because of you're probably using
I think the name comes from the Gargoyles cartoon, but whatever.
I don't know. Maybe Jude Watson, the writer of that series, was a Gargoyles fan.
Maybe.
Here's one that I could totally buy, even if it was a little accidental, which is that Anakin was manipulating Padme into loving him. As evidence, he didn't have very good moves.
No, I discount this theory because that excuses George Lucas's incredibly shitty writing.
Yeah. Like it wouldn't surprise me if Anakin was subconsciously doing a little mind trick,
Sure.
right? Because he wanted it so bad, you know. And that's why when he's like, I hate sand, she's like, oh, fuck me, please. Because who would say that otherwise, right? It's like the next scene after that, she like wears the most revealing thing possible.
The fuck me dress.
And he's like, is this going to happen? Was it because of the sand? And she's like, yeah.
Let me just levitate this pear into your dish.
Right, yeah. Like, you did all the wrong things and you still got the real hot girl. Yeah. So maybe the Force was involved.
No, just shitty writing.
Yeah. I'm going to skip through some of these. So what do you think about the idea that Yoda could have beat Palpatine if he allowed himself to die? That Yoda wasn't willing to make a sacrifice of his life. And that's why Palpatine was at least able to get away and extended his reign for, 3 more decades.
It kind of cheapens Yoda as a character, I think.
I don't think it necessarily cheapens him. I think it would make him a little more complex. He got there in the moment and maybe decided, like, I've lived 900 years, sure, but I don't want to die. However, I think that when you examine it against the character that Yoda is supposed to be, I would bet in the end, if I were writing Yoda based on what I know from Star Wars, if he was given the opportunity to die, if it was made very clear to him, like, you sacrifice yourself, you end Palpatine, and everything is fine, he does it in a heartbeat. Yeah, just because that's the kind of person he was. Here's a goofy one.
Okay.
Caddy Mundi was secretly Sidious's operative.
Okay, go on.
This could have worked because he is responsible for so he's got like 3 lines of dialogue.
The droid attack on the Wookiees.
Right. He's got like 3 lines of dialogue in the whole prequel trilogy, right? The first one was casting doubt on whether or not the Sith actually existed. Qui-Gon shows up and he's like, guys, I fought a Sith. And Ki-Adi-Mundi's like, bullshit. No, you didn't. They've been gone for a millennia.
Yeah, like, in his defense, everyone thought they had been gone for a millennia.
But just imagine this through a different lens of him being there as Palpatine's man, like, thinking everything's fine, everything's happening in the shadow. No one knows they're back. Qui-Gon shows up and it's like, the Sith are back, and Ki-Adi-Mundi's like, oh fuck, oh shit.
What does he know?
While he's texting Sidious, no, he's not. They're not back. I have no idea what you're. He's like, run. They know, run. Also, the droid attack on the Wookiees would have been his way to separate Yoda, Obi-Wan, and get everyone in different places so that Palpatine's coup could be executed.
I don't know. I don't buy it.
As a headcanon, as this happened, we just don't know it yet. Totally don't buy it. As a alternate universe, like, this could have happened and it would have been a good, like, if written well, it could have happened really, like, it could have been a neat thing. Totally up for it. I'm not going to do that one. I want to do another content warning. Also, that one's kind of stupid. There was someone made an argument about how Ahsoka should have just killed Barriss Offee. Because the act of showing her compassion is what turned her to the dark side. This is before she got the red lightsabers. It was in a previous episode of Clone Wars. There's a whole thing, and then the other Barriss Offee thing was that because we don't know how Barriss Offee's story ends. Yeah. Because she's responsible for bombing the temple. They figure it out. Ahsoka is excommunicated or put on trial and then leaves. Yeah. And then Barriss Offee just kind of disappears. So the theory is that she became an Inquisitor, and maybe that's something we find out in Bad Batch season 3 or one of the other ancillary,
or maybe whatever the third Jedi game is.
That would be really, really good. Actually. You know what? We're going to end that there.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're... So, first of all, I didn't think we were going to have enough time for that anyway. Let's read a couple of chats. Obi-Wan was the perfect example about what a Jedi should be, but his strictness in having to always obey the rules without question. He was absolutely the wrong master for Anakin, and Obi-Wan does share a big portion of the blame for the fall of the Jedi. That's, I mean, at least from Obi-Wan's perspective, that's how he feels. And there's a good argument to be made about, I mean, Obi-Wan was the Boy Scout of the Jedi Order. I mean, like, it caused tremendous tension between him and Qui-Gon Jinn when Qui-Gon took him as a Padawan.
Qui-Gon's like, we should just fucking help people, and Obi-Wan's like, but what does the code say about that?
Yeah, and he'd be like, I'm gonna smack you, like, motherfucker. The thing is that toward the end, Obi-Wan still has this like this Boy Scout image thing, but more of Qui-Gon rubbed off on him than he realized, because Obi-Wan was willing to bend the rules way more than younger Obi-Wan would have, because there are a couple of canon books about Obi-Wan as a Padawan and stuff. He had such a giant stick up his ass, like was just unbendable about certain things.
And by the end, like, he was willing to look the other way as Anakin fucked Padme.
He totally knew.
Yeah,
he totally knew. Canonically, he knew. This was in the Clone Wars season 7, when Rex is trying to keep Obi-Wan out because Anakin and Padme are like sexting or like on FaceTime or something. Like they're like both nude or something, and he's like, "Oh, you can't go in there. Anakin's inspecting my gear," and he's like, "They're sexting, aren't they?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "All right, well, tell Padme I said hi." And then left. Like, he knew.
Yeah,
that motherfucker knew, and he was like, and here's the thing. The tragedy of it is that if Anakin, after he started having his dreams about Padme, if Anakin had gone to Obi-Wan and just come clean and been like, I have a wife, she's pregnant, I keep having these dreams, I can't tell anyone because I'll get expelled from the Jedi Order, guarantee you Obi-Wan's
would have helped him.
Yeah, Obi-Wan's reaction would have been, let's figure it out. Like, yeah, we're in the middle of a war. Who the fuck knows what happens to the Jedi after this anyway? Like, let's just figure this out. You're a thing that matters to me.
Like, they were genuinely brothers.
Casey says Mace Windu is the poster child for putting the Order and Senate dictates over the living Force. I'm not sure. I don't know how much I don't know how much I agree with that. I know I can tell you from what I've read, Mace Windu had an attachment issue that a lot of people don't realize. This is in the episode 3 novelization.
Namely that he gets very attached to things.
No, not at all. His attachment was the Republic.
Ah, okay.
And he cared so much about the Republic and their democracy that he made stupid decisions, like toward the end of that story and everything. I'm not sure if you can. We have to have a whole debate about the living Force and the Force otherwise from that, which is like an entirely different conversation. Show up for, we're going to play Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga here in a few minutes. Come back, we'll talk about it, because that's something we can just kind of rattle off as we're playing. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you here in a few minutes. Watch us play some video games. We love you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.